Hello everyone, this is Ashfaq Ahmed working in the field of structural biology and bioinformatics. You are watching lecture 3 of a course named A Complete Course on Single Cell Sequence Analysis or Single Cell RNA Sequencing Analysis. So before this we have already covered part 1 and part 2. This is the third lecture of the series. If you haven't watched those two parts, I strongly suggest you to watch them first, then before coming to this lecture. Okay. In part second, we had covered about the quality control and normalization. Today, we will cover about finding signals in the noise, or I would say PCA analysis. In lecture first, I mentioned all those steps we will go through in the practical demonstration session. So today we will talk about the variable gene and its detection with PCA. So I dropped short kind of questions. You may have some of them in your mind. Some people may think that why most genes are boring. Other may think that's why that's actually useful. And you may also think that why we compress thousands of genes down to a handful numbers before clustering anything. So let's discuss. First of all, remember not all genes are equally useful. Why? Because there is a term we call it housekeeping genes, and they are almost everywhere in our cells, and their presence or their expression is necessary, whether it is a normal cell or it is a disease cell or stress cell. For example, a gene for metabolism, or some people call it metabolism. So doesn't matter metabolism will take place. A gene for structural role doesn't matter the fate of the cell. It has to express. I also mentioned here like what are housekeeping genes? Genes for basic metabolism, structural proteins, and because they are everywhere, and because why they are everywhere, because cell needs them to survive. So in simple terms, those genes which are required for the survival of a cell will be, we call it housekeeping genes. And remember, the expression of housekeeping genes roughly remains the same across any cell types, because without the expression of those genes, the cell may face some kind of, I would say the cell may face a death scenario. So that's why housekeeping genes are important. Okay. These genes do not help us tell cell types apart. They are statistical noise for our purpose, even though they are biologically essential. Why we call a housekeeping gene a kind of statistical noise? Because we everyone we are assured that these genes will express, and they almost express the same way everywhere in all of the cells. So we are actually looking for a hyper variable genes, or the genes which shows high variability. And housekeeping genes do not retain this property. They will almost show the same kind of expression. So that's why we call it statistical noise. Okay. On the other hand, we have some genes which are variable in expression. Genes whose expression varies a lot from cell to cell because different cell types actually use them differently. Okay, for example, only beta cell makes lots of insulin messenger RNA, not the other cell. Only beta cell make lots of insulin messenger RNA. So, we are looking for such kind of genes which are not housekeeping genes and whose expression is not similar in all cell types. Okay, so there are the genes that actually separate one cell types from another, exactly what we want clustering to focus on. Even in PCA or in the next step, we will call it UMAP. Okay, um, why not to focus on the top 2000 genes? Let's assume we will focus on the top 2000 genes. The concrete payoffs from narrowing our attention. Okay, so if we are focusing almost or approximately 10,000 genes, actually we are talking that we are narrowing or making our attention filtered to some subset of the bigger set of genes. Why it is important? Because if you do or if we do this, then it will speed up the computation process. It's pretty much simple thing, like if your computer is dealing with 10,000 genes, or if it's dealing approximately 2,000 genes, so of course the computation for 2,000 genes will be more speedy as compared to the whole data set. So that is one of the scenario. The second scenario is that choosing a handful subset actually improves signal to noise ratio. How? We stop letting thousands of boring, uniformly expressed genes that dilute the real biological difference between cell types. In my previous slide, I talked about the housekeeping genes. So as I talked about, like the housekeeping genes in every cell types, they will be expressed almost uniformly. So keeping them actually homogenate the whole data set. So we also call it statistical noise, or we also call it boring genes. So why not to remove them, or to focus on those genes which are highly variable as compared to focus on those so-called, I call it boring genes or housekeeping genes. The difference that matters stand out more clearly. Okay. And you should know, this is an important note I dropped on this slide. We do not throw out the other genes away. They stay in the full data set, and we can still look up any individual gene's expression later. We are just telling the algorithm which gene deserve the most attention right now. So right now we are looking for some highly variable genes. That's why we are telling the algorithm to skip those 8 or 6,000 and focus on this 1,000 or 2,000 genes. That's the exact point I wanted to make. Okay. Now we, even if we are selecting 2000 genes, so we are facing another problem. We call it too many dimensions. I will, before diving into this slide, I will give you a slight example. You, each and every one of you is aware of the 1D, 2D, and 3D concept. Let's say x axis and y axis and z axis. For example, if you are standing at one place, you are moving right or you are moving towards your left side. This is called you are moving on a x axis. Now, if you are standing, jumping up, or sitting down, you are making some movement on the y-axis. Now, if you are coming forward and going backward, actually you are dealing with the z-axis. So, the basic idea is if we select even 2000 genes, so each gene has its own, you consider this gene a kind of floating point. So for each floating point, there is a 360-degree space. If you consider it in a circle, so the space or the dimension for each point is very high. Now consider 2000 points, and each of them or each of it having its own dimension, let's say 360 degree. Then calculating the dimension of each and every point is a big task, even for the computer. I'm not saying it is impossible, but it is a big task, and solving this task, we may lose some good points or some good results. So this is the exact problem, or we will face. We call it too many dimensions. Okay. Okay, finding the height and weight of gene expression. You will say what I'm saying, like height and weight of a gene expression. Yes. Okay. Uh, Read this example. If you wanted to describe someone's body size with a fewer possible points or a fewer possible numbers, how will you describe the body size? Normally, we describe the body size of someone with describing its height and describing its weight alone. And we capture most of the useful information. For example, if I tell you that this guy is 5 feet uh, in height and 60 kg in weight. So you may have one some idea. Now if I say this is 5'1" in height and 80 in weight, now you can assume like what kind of personality the second one has, a very kind of obese type. So even though there are other 100 ways of measurement, for example, I could say that the arm length, the shoulder width, and any other thing, the size of the head and the size of the legs. But we as a human, we are dealing normally, to keep things simple, we are dealing two factors, height and weight, to explain someone's uh, impression or to explain someone's body weight. The same way, we have to choose some factors to explain the expression of genes or the expression of that floating point. I call a gene a floating point in my previous slide. So PCA does the same thing for gene expression. It finds new combined axes called PCs, principal components, that captures as much as of the meaningful variations as possible, using as few axes as possible automatically. Um, I would suggest, if you are unaware of the PCA, like what PCA does, then I would suggest you to read something about the PCA. This tool or this analysis is almost used everywhere in statistics, in different fields of biology, and also in physics and in other chemistry. And basically, the PCA, the basic job of the PCA is, doesn't matter wherever you are using it. The basic job of the PCA is to calculate the variance in a fewer dimensions in an easy way. I would say like this. So this the similar way, taking this example of the human body size, the similar way the PCA also take care of the human expression or the gene expression in combined axis. We typically keep up to 30 to 50 pieces and discard the rest, which most capture the technical nice, not real biology. Let me tell you that whenever you are doing a PCA analysis or the PC analysis or the PCA, doesn't matter in which field you are, we are actually selecting the top one, two, three, or 10 pieces, or three pieces, or 15 pieces, but we are not selecting the whole data set of pieces because after some time, all the pieces retained or maintain a kind of similar kind of variance. So the most variable PCs are the starter one or the initial one. So that's why we will always select the initial PCs. But how we will select, like how we will decide up to what scale we need to select the PCs, choosing how many PCs to keep. This is the question. So normally, if we are confused, like how many PCs we need to select in a certain experiment, so we always draw an elbow plot. We call it elbow plot. First, we perform the PCA, then we plot our data in a kind of this kind of histogram. Now, let me tell you, this is called an elbow plot. If you see this first, these each histogram or each bar denotes a single PC. So this is the first PC, this is the second, this is the third, the orange one is the fourth and fifth, sixth, and so on. If you look, the difference between the first and the second is too much. The second and the third is too much. The first and the third too much. Okay, the third and the fourth almost it's a significant difference. The fourth and the fifth there is significance, but the fifth and the rest it's almost a kind of plateau line, not so much significant differences, although there must be some differences you see but negligible as compared to the starting PC. So if this is a real figure of your data, so in this case I would suggest to pick one, two, three, four PCs of the data and discard the rest. Okay, this was all about lecture 3, where we talked about the PC and why we are selecting some, why we will discard others. So I hope you enjoy this lecture and stay tuned for lecture 4, where we will discuss the upcoming step we will perform in our practical demonstration. If you haven't subscribed this channel, so I would suggest to subscribe and share it with your other friend. Thank you so much. Bye bye.